Do you love fabric as much as I do? Have tons of it, but you're still searching for the best method to store your cotton, vinyl, and waterproof canvas fabrics? Well, in today's video, I'm going to go ahead and share with you how I am currently storing these items. At the end of this video, I'm also going to give you a quick look at how I am also storing my threads. So I've got my all-purpose threads, my Text 45 and my Text 70 threads from Size Swag Bags, as well as my serger thread. Let's go ahead and start by talking about how I'm storing my quilting cottons. A few months back, I went ahead and switched over to this method, and it's been working out beautifully for me. As you can see right here, I have a large bin full of fabric. This is my gray and my black bin. I have 4 of these tubs, and each one is designated to specific colors. So I also have a navy and red bin. I have a bin that's designated for large prints, like your floral fabrics, your animal prints. And then I have another one, I think, for pinks and greens, and can't remember the other color. But that's basically what I've done, is I've color-coded all my fabrics, and I've gone ahead and wrapped them all around these comic book boards right here. So as you can see, it keeps your fabric nice and tidy. You can see what you have at a quick glance, and it's easy to place your fabrics in and out of the bins. Now, these comic book boards come in various sizes, so you can basically measure the space that you're anticipating keeping your fabrics in, and then purchase the correct size comic book board. These boards are rather rigid. They're not super, firm, but they're pretty rigid here. Another option that you can do is you can go ahead and just make your own with cardboard. So if I were to go ahead and make my own, and I know I wanted to store my fabric in these bins, let's just say that I want 2 rows that are going to come right here to the center of the bin. I'm going to go ahead and measure the depth of the bin and then the width of the bin and cut my cardboard accordingly. And then I'll go ahead and wrap my fabric around the boards and place them in my bin. You can also go ahead and place your fabric on open shelving, and that's a great idea. And that's what actually I plan to do in the near future. So my daughter is going to be purchasing her first home probably in the next year or 2, and I'll be taking over her bedroom when she moves out. I've already recruited my husband, told him all about how I want my sewing room to be, and told him I need shelving. I need open shelving for my fabrics. I want them to utilize my vertical space, and along the top of the walls, I just want to have shelving for my fabrics and probably my handbags as well. And I'm going to store all of them vertically just like this. So that's another option if you have open shelving. Even a bookcase, you can use a bookcase, or cubbies. That's another great way of doing it, and that way you can quickly see what you have and grab what you need for your project. But the bins work just fine for me too. I'm easily able to slide them out, pop the lid open, and find what I need, especially since I've also color-coded all of my fabrics. Let's see here. I'll show you also how I wrap the fabrics around the boards, so you can see how I do it. Everybody does it differently. I personally like to have no board exposed on the side, so I make sure that my fabric's extended a little bit beyond the edges of the board. I also make sure that I have all of my raw edges kind of encased, so you don't see any raw edges. It just has a cleaner finish to it. I use these little alligator clips, which I have for sale on my website, to secure the fabric to the boards. And I use one at both ends. Now, with transitioning to this method, I actually went ahead and downsized my fabric by about 50%. So many years ago, I had a family member pass away, and I was able to inherit her fabrics. And boy, did she have a lot of fabric. But I picked my favorites out, and over the years, I realized that there was quite a few that I wasn't using. Also, some of the fabrics that I purchased over the last 20 years, I hadn't been using it. I said, you know what, it's time to just let it go. Let's go ahead and donate the fabric, so that way I am only keeping the fabrics that I really love and that I know that I'm going to go ahead and use. Now, you can donate fabric. What I recommend doing is donating it to a local church, because there's lots of quilting clubs that would absolutely love to get those fabrics, and they can make quilts for them out of them. So that's something that you can do. You can obviously donate it to your local thrift stores or Goodwills. That's another option. Or you can just post it up on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist and see if you can sell it at for like a lump sum. That's another way that you can do it. Here's another alternative for you that I did find online on a sewing blog. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description box for the blog so you can check that out if you want to. And I'll be posting a picture of what I'm talking about on the screen too. I thought this was a great idea. You can take these file folders that are hanging, wrap your fabric around it just like you would with the comic book boards. Make sure you leave these metal hangers exposed. And then once it's wrapped and you clip it just like you're going to clip on the comic book boards, you're just going to go ahead and have your filing cabinet designated for your fabrics. And you're going to drop that right into the drawer. And then whenever it's time for you to pick your fabrics, open your drawer, look through real quick, and pull out the fabric you need. I think that's an absolutely great idea, something that I would actually consider doing if I had the space for it. Let's go ahead and move on into vinyl and waterproof canvas. Now this method I developed about a month ago, and I think that it's working out wonderfully for me. I only started working with vinyl about a year ago because I didn't have the appropriate sewing machine to sew through all those layers of vinyl and interfacing. I had been working on a Brother sewing machine for like 20 years. Didn't realize what I was missing, to be honest, until I got my Juki. And wow, you know, like what a difference. So if you have the money to invest in an industrial sewing machine or even a semi-industrial, which is what I have, I've got the Juki QV. Oh, I never remember the number of it. I'll put it on the screen for you. But I love my Juki. I got it from JukiJunkies.com. Highly recommend them. They have great customer service. But anyway, let's go back into the vinyl fabric. So I got my Juki, and I've been purchasing vinyl left and right over the last year. Initially, when I got the fabric, I went ahead and rolled it all up onto itself, and I was literally just storing it on the floor in my bedroom against the wall. But as I kept acquiring the fabric, I was stacking them on themselves, and it was kind of crushing under the weight of themselves. So I realized that was not going to work. So then I said, well, let's try to store them vertically. So I had the rolls, put them in my closet leaning up against the walls, and store them all vertically. Well, as I would go in to find what I needed, I'd yank out one, the rest would start sliding, and they'd slid down on themselves, and it just wasn't working out. They were all ultimately getting bent and creased and all that as well. So I think it was like a month ago, I was walking into a Dollar Tree, and outside the store, since it's summertime, or just about summer, yeah, it's summertime now, I think, they have all the pool noodles out there in front of the store, and I was like, that's it, that's what I can use, pool noodles, to wrap my fabric around, because I knew I wanted to wrap my fabric around something. I looked at like cardboard tubing, like the hollow tubing, like kind of like, you know, like a paper towel roll, you know, but a little bit more firmer, but that would be very, very expensive to purchase all of those rolls. So I knew that I couldn't do that. But when I saw those pool noodles, they're $1.25 right now each. I was like, that's something that I can do. So I went ahead and bought, I think initially like 30 rolls or 30 pool noodles. They kind of looked at me like, okay, what are you doing with 30 pool noodles? But I got the 30 pool noodles, took them home, and started wrapping all of my vinyl. So this is what it looks like. So I've got my vinyl wrapped around, and I leave one of the ends where it's the pool noodle exposed. The reason that I do that is I don't want to get my vinyl crushed or creased or, you know, anything like that whenever I stand it up and have them all stacked together. Now, as you can see over here, I have a bunch of the waterproof canvas and the vinyl rolls all together. What they are in is actually a trash can that I picked up at Walmart. I actually bought 3 of those trash cans so that I can keep all of my my rolls together so that they're not sliding down or anything like that. So they're all in the trash can, and I have these trash cans in my walk-in closet in my master bedroom against the wall. So they're just in a row, and then they're all filled with the rolls of vinyl and waterproof canvas. What I had my husband then do is to help me to keep them kind of contained, because you can see that if you're going in in and out. They're gonna shift around, they're gonna kind of flop like this is doing right here. And it can get in the way if you're trying to go in there and actually get your clothing or anything like that you're going in for a closet. So I had my husband use a rope and a bungee cord. He secured it to one side of the closet on the wall, and then we just brought that rope around the rolls of vinyl about this high, so like, you know, chest high or waist high or something like that. So that way all of the rolls of vinyl were pushed, or not pushed, but nicely against the wall, against each other, and then we went ahead and latched it to the other side of the wall. So that way, if whenever I want to go ahead and go get a piece of vinyl or waterproof canvas, and if I need to, I'll just release that rope or the bungee cord and grab what I need and then put it back. And that way, all of the rolls of vinyl are nice and vertical. They're not leaning and getting into the way. So it's been working out great. So again, you don't put it at the very bottom, because whenever you've got all of these put in there, you don't want to get them crushed on each other. So that's the way I'm doing it. Now you can see here I've got basically these hair ties is what it is. It's a hair tie that I got on Amazon. I think they're like, they call them child hair ties. It's kind of like a really elasticy t-shirt material. So it actually doesn't really leave the depressions into the vinyl. So I think that's working out really well. I just recently got those. So I just put one on each side, or if I got a really long piece, I might pop one on in the middle as well. You could also use rubber bands. So initially, that's what I was using, is rubber bands. And you can see here, I have two shorter rolls of vinyl on one pool noodle like this. Or you can use the clips. So this one right here, I have the clip on. So it's another way that you can do it. It's up to you. So that is the method for storing my waterproof canvas and vinyl. And like I said, it's working out great. I don't foresee that I'll ever change this method even when I do get my sewing room, because it is working out so well. So I definitely recommend checking that out if you want. I think ultimately I ended up with about 50 pool noodles, so it wasn't too expensive, especially considering that you know, these are probably going to be around for another 10 years if they don't degrade. We always keep our house air conditioned, so I don't think, you know, there's not going to be any problem with weather conditions and humidity or things like that degrading the pool noodles like they might whenever you have it stored out in your garage or something like that. One thing that you might be concerned about is that I don't know about acid content in things. I don't think that it's going to affect the vinyl. I don't anticipate also having my vinyl stored on these pool noodles for years and years and years either. You know, I'll be using my vinyl and getting new vinyl, so I'm not really concerned about it myself. So that is how I store my fabric. Let's go ahead and talk about how I store my thread. So ultimately, I started off with your standard all-purpose thread that you can pick up at your local craft store or Walmart. And all I was doing with those is I was using these, what do they call them, thread or spool holders. And they are actually made for tabletop, so they kind of have legs that fold out, and you can just set them on your table. But what I actually did was I had my husband screw them to the inside wall of my craft closet that I have. And that's been working out great. And as I acquired more and more spools of thread, we got another spool holder. So I think I'm up to 3 spool holders right now. And that's working out great. But when I switched over to working with the Text 45 and Text 70 thread from Saya Swag Bags, when I got that thread, I was like, oh my God, that's huge. I had no idea that those spools of thread were so large. And I was like, well, where am I going to store these at? Well, I had bought a plant stand on Amazon for plants initially, but the shelving was just too like, it wasn't high enough, each of those shelves for plants. So I never really used it. So I was like, well, let's go ahead and just make it work with the thread. So I went ahead and just color coded all my thread, put it on the plant stand, and it's sitting here in my dining room. It's a piece of art. It's pretty, you know, all those pretty colors. So it works. I don't really care. I don't get company over my house very often, if I do, they know that I sew for a living, so no big deal. So that works out well. So I really like my plant stand for my threads. And then I also, at the top there, keep my serger threads too. So I can grab whatever color I need real quick and do that. Before I did the plant stand, I had my serger threads in smaller plastic bins on the shelving in my closet. But I like to have my thread now at easy reach and just grab what I need, no problem at all. So definitely something that I recommend doing if you don't know where to store those large spools of thread from Saya. So, well, I think that's pretty much it. I would love to hear from you guys and get feedback on how you're storing your fabric, your threads. So go ahead and leave those in the comments box, or you can pop in on our Facebook group. I'll leave a link in the description box, and share photos of how you're storing your thread and your fabrics, because we love that. We always can learn from each other. Obviously, I didn't invent these ideas. I personally, the pool noodle thing, that was me. I'm sure other people are doing it. I hadn't seen it myself, so that's working for me, and I'm sure it'll work for you too if that's something you want to do. But the comic book board thing, that's been out there for years. I only stumbled upon it probably about 6 months ago. I thought it was a brilliant idea and knew I had to do that. Before I did that, I had these bins probably for a couple of years now, and I was just folding my cotton fabric and just laying them in the bins, but I had to rifle through all the fabrics. They were always getting a mess. Now it's nice and organized and easy to see. So, all right, I guess that's about it. So I look forward to hearing from you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and click that bell notification so you will get notified anytime I post new videos. Check out my website at sewyours.com. And until next time, have a great day.